Sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, good. Okay. Well, that's a rarity for me to hear that. Anyway. Okay, y'all good? Okay, hi, I'm Joe DeSalvo, current chair of the board of directors for JEA. As a JEA board member back in 2021, I led the effort to rewrite the JEA board policy manual as part of the board's priority objective to restore the trust and confidence of the JEA employees and our community. Part of the update included the values of leadership, which is make the tough calls, selfless service, which is do what's right for the community, competency, have a strategic understanding of the public utilities industry, and integrity, adhere to the strict moral and ethical codes, and transparency, and total transparency. At that time, a board member asked me why we need to include values in the policy manual, and I responded, if in times of crisis or confusion, as long as board members do not violate these values, no one can accuse us of any wrongdoing. So that brings us here today, where there is now a calculated initiative to intimidate our CEO and myself into Vickie resigning. All the bogus claims, and I fully expect this disinformation campaign to continue, have no merit and is all hearsay. I aggressively circulate throughout the city to talk to our fantastic JEA electric and wastewater employees who are the hardest and most dedicated men and women in this county. And I get salt of the earth feedback. By the way, they have no idea who the hell I am when I get with them. And none of the feedback has ever addressed a negative work environment. At our end of the year board meeting in November, during my chair's report, which is part of the board agenda, I gave my end of the year assessment of JEA, which included the superb leadership of Vickie and the senior executives down to the employees doing God's work every day 24/7. I asked for any comments and no one raised their hands or had any issues. What transpired since then to start this smear campaign? I'm not sure. So in the absence of any credible information, I'm referring back to the board policy manual letter 1.1 and recommit my actions as board chair to do what is right for the community with selfless service and maintain total integrity, which will not be compromised regardless of the attempted degree of intimidation. I stand by Vickie Cavey as the JEA CEO, and I also stand by the entire JEA team. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Appreciate you. All week, most of you have been asking me to weigh in, and I have declined to do so on these appointment matters at JEA because I said that's a council matter, and I don't need to weigh in on those things. Trying desperately to run the city and stay out of all the other interesting things that happen along the way, right? But now it has crossed over into hurting one of our most important independent authorities. And I do feel a need to speak out. Vickie Cavey is an honest and trustworthy public servant who has served our city for decades. Doesn't have to, simply because she loves our city. That's why she's here. This vile smear campaign magically appeared after she resisted pressure to renew a lobbying contract with people who are politically connected to a handful of council members, including our council president. That's when all of this started. These are the same people who were part of the effort to sell our public utility, and frankly, who have been responsible for much of the toxic political culture in Jacksonville that people elected me to end. The JEA scheme was the biggest corruption scandal in Jacksonville's history, with multiple indictments and the CEO at the time now sitting in a federal prison. The public overwhelmingly rose up against it then, and we must remain vigilant now. When I ran for mayor, I promised to keep our utility in public hands and fight back against any attempt to undermine it to the best of my power. I am not interested in seeing a sequel to the movie that we saw. The fact that those who want to control JEA for money and power are willing to smear a faithful public servant like Vickie is reprehensible, if not surprising. I want to be clear. This is not a battle with the council for me, so please don't make it that. The vast majority of council members want to keep their heads down and work together to get the work of this city done and to move it forward. But a few are hell-bent on protecting their political friends and giving them political favors. This also is not an issue with any particular lobbying firm, so don't get that twisted either. The problem is we've got some local bad actors who would rather go on a retribution and revenge tour than to move our city forward. That's just the truth, and it has to stop. So if you have any questions for me or for the general or for, I don't know, Vickie, if you're willing to take questions, I'm happy to take them.
What's your level of anger?
Do I seem angry? You know, it's honestly, Ben, it's such a waste of time and energy in a city that is moving so fast and doing so much, and our utility has been so successful. It's just, and you see it happen over and over again. That's, you know, and you guys follow these little, you know, battles back and forth. It doesn't belong in our city. It just, so I don't know if anger is the right word as much as it is, I truly believe, and I remember hearing it on the campaign trail over and over, this is one of the main reasons I was elected. So while you may hear a million excuses from some folks as to why they think I'm standing in this place, I think I'm very much standing in this place because people wanted better. They wanted unity, and they didn't want all of this political nonsense. And I'm tired of the political gamesmanship.
What was your reaction when you first saw the
It was disappointing. It was disappointing to see. You know, honestly, I like Kevin, and we have worked well together. I just think, and I've had this conversation with other people as I came into this office who I am now friendly with, who were once, who once I wasn't so friendly with. I think sometimes good people can listen to the wrong people. I think they can want things so much for their political futures, or believe that there's only one way forward, or become so inured to what's even happening around them and to them in terms of the political environment, that they go along. And I think, I hate to see that. And that, honestly, I guess that is my reaction. I think that there's a lot of good that we have accomplished, and I hate to see that become part of the legacy there.
You go back to the lobbying contract that you mentioned. So January 31st, that contract ended now. What's that speaking prior to that? Managing the partner there, Jordan Ellsbury, and the chief of staff here, partner there, was forward to Curry, who's obviously do you believe this is a retribution effort by those specific two people to try to upset the apple cart?
I think I've said what I need to say about that. I think you can connect the dots. You're a reporter. You know, I want to work with people who love this city and want to move it forward. And what I have seen over and over again are efforts to throw roadblocks in front of projects, in front of you know, well-meaning business people and others, because they're not affiliated with a certain group. And it's not the lobbying firm that I have an issue with. I have respect for that lobbying firm. Worked with other people in that lobbying firm. I'm just saying that locally, there is a particular type of politics that we ran in this city for a while, that folks see as a game. They don't care whose lives are hurt. They don't care how the city is hurt. And Vickie is an unfortunate victim of that mentality. It's not personal. It's just politics. Well, it is personal. It's personal to me, and it's personal to the city of Jacksonville. So I'm not going to name check anybody. I wouldn't give them the oxygen to do that, but I think you know exactly who I'm talking about.
You mentioned a pressure campaign for JEA to renew the contract with Ballard. Did you ever reach out to JEA or anybody from your office reach out to JEA to tell them you were upset that they gave the contract to Ballard or did not want them to renew it from that side of the equation?
I didn't know about the contract until after it was done. I think probably somebody from my office expressed surprise that the contract would go to somebody who had played such a large role in the conversations and the efforts around the entire scheme around JEA. But there was never any pressure from our side to do anything. I know there was a lot of pressure from the community. But I think at the end of the day, this is about the health of JEA and the health of our community. And I just believe that you can't intimidate a leader who is trying to do the right thing into acquiescing to a contract that she doesn't believe should be renewed, regardless of what that is. I don't think I should do that. I don't think anybody else should do it. It's troubling. Well, he certainly has that opportunity. I mean, honestly, look, I still have a reporter's mind, right? And I hope you guys too, by the way. There's a lot here to look at. But I can only follow the breadcrumbs that are out there, right? What was the favor? Why was that necessary to replace somebody that was doing a good job, that he felt was doing a good job? If in fact it sounds like he felt he was doing, I don't know. I never talked to Council President Carrico about that because I didn't think it was any of my business. He can appoint whoever he wants to appoint. But what's sort of ironic to me in all this is that the JEA board structure was changed. The appointment structure was changed by charter because of the JEA scandal in an effort to make it harder for corruption to happen. And so now what we're seeing a situation where truly somebody could come in and replace. So now council has more appointments than the mayor has. And so literally anybody could come in and replace those 4 board members with anybody who they want to go for their particular political agenda, as opposed to whatever the CEO thinks is best for the institution. And that could happen. And so I'm looking at those things. I take that promise to the public about JEA very, very seriously. I'm not going to sit here and stay silent while a good public servant is persecuted, and while the forces are out there that would still like to see JEA go to different hands are working on that. Whether it's these people or others, I'm just not going to do that. I can't turn a blind eye to that. That would be a misrepresentation of what I told the public I would do. And I think the public has been very clear about how they feel about this issue. Very clear.
Would you repeat that, please? That's all right. Well, first of all, I would never comment on any personnel issues publicly or talk about an individual employee. And you ask about leadership style. I will say that I have been in a leadership role for a very long time, and I came back to serve the JEA. Really, I came back to serve the employees of the JEA. I work for them, and I work for everyone in this room and everyone that receives our services, period, end of story. I'm a very inclusive leader. I think the board chair could speak to our board briefings. I pull in all employees who have any impact on a board meeting to brief our board members. I'm out in the community. I go out to our service centers all the time. I have a strong belief in our field people. Those employees work 24/7, 365 days a year, no matter what. And so do I. And it's an honor to serve this city and to serve those people. Racism has no place anywhere, especially at JEA, where I am charged to make sure none of that exists. No, there is nothing that I know of, and especially not from me. 100% I can say that. You know, I can't speak to what Mr. Carrico was doing. I really can't, Ben, so. Well, forgive me, Mayor, but I didn't really have a pressure campaign. I wouldn't say I had a pressure campaign at all. We reviewed that contract and did not use them at all, to my knowledge, during that year. It was a 3-year contract with after 1 year up for renewal, and we made the decision, not to renew it. And that notice was sent in January, and it did end in January 31st. No. I have not been asked.
And shame the devil.
Maybe, but I would never say devil, Mayor, but thank you. She is tough.
Because I want you to be honest and stop protecting people.
That's my job, Mayor.
I don't say stuff lightly. I mean, you should tell people what was done. You don't have to say.
Perhaps, but I wouldn't call it a pressure campaign. I would not call it a pressure campaign. I would say maybe we should, but a termination was already given. Yes, sir.
Every board member has a prerogative to bring up that. I mean, that's part of it. And if it comes to a motion, and then we vote on it. So it's pretty simple. Am I looking forward to the motion coming?
In other words, you welcome the opportunity to separate
If a board member wants to go ahead and broach that during a meeting, then we will talk about it.
How would you feel about, I know you talked about quarantine programs, but there are at least one former chief of staff saying what you said about the leadership style. Would you be supportive of having an outside agency talk to employees, give a report to the board, and then do it in your own eyes when you're
Well, if I recall, we had that, I think, less than a year ago. We had an outside agency come in to do a soup to nuts look at JEA, make sure how we were doing things. That included morale, by the way. And any of that feedback, there was no concerns of any morale issues. So is there something to bring another outside agency in? I'm not opposed to it. Again, I just tell you, I don't need it because I do my own circulation. And I challenge anybody else who thinks they have a say in this to go ahead and go out and go look at those men and women doing the jobs and see what they find out, what their attitude is and what their impressions are. And if they come up with something contrary to what I'm hearing, let me know. I'm all ears.
Yep. Oh, no. No, I don't do war. I've got too much to do to run this city. But what I can do, and what I've always said, and certainly how I've advised Vickie, whether she listens to me or not, is that sunlight is the best disinfectant. I believed that as a journalist. I believe it now. And I think people need to know what's what. And then they can make their own judgments. But no, I think I have shown you over time, much to your frustration many times, that I'm not interested in engaging in a war. I'm interested in running my city and making sure we move Jacksonville forward. That's it. And I'm interested in working with people who put their love for our city first. And I'm hoping that so are the people of Jacksonville.
Talking to Vickie Cavey about stepping down, is motivated in any way, wholly or in part, by JEA not renewing the contract for
Have no idea. Have no idea. And that's up for Board Member Morales to answer.
Thanks, everybody.